There's this sacred season between summer and fall. The air begins to cool, but the world is still full of color. The first garden harvest fills our plates, and the reds and the oranges begin to make their debut. And while the world is green and alive, the smell in the air tells us that autumn is on its way. And this is September. I wanted to capture the essence of the month of September, so I went back through some old photos I've taken in previous Septembers. I used those photos to capture words in my journal that described what this month means to me. It was beautiful to pause for a moment. Rather than jumping ahead as I so often do, I just soaked in the season we're in this time of transition. And through that, I was able to capture what September looks like through my eyes. When it came to decorating and crafting and bringing September into our home, I knew that I wanted to use those words that I had written down to really bring the outside in. Okay, this is our first room to tackle. We just bought a house a few months ago, and we are very slowly accumulating furniture. We're not in a rush, not everything has to be finished at once, but we did just buy a sectional that's going to go right here once it gets here, and I'm really excited to decorate this room. Now my goal is to do all of these projects without spending any extra money. I want to use things I already have. Okay, first I want to tackle the mantle. I found this window-shaped wood at the thrift store a while ago, and I want to repurpose it and give it new life. I had these picture hooks in it, and I didn't love the way they looked, so I started by taking them out. Now while I'm working on this, I just want to say that it is so rewarding to repurpose old materials and use things that you already have in your house and give them new life. I think especially this time of year, there's this huge push to go out and buy all the fall decor. And I'm not saying that's not amazing, and I love Hobby Lobby and all those stores with a passion. But I find it so rewarding to first use what I have. We don't always need more. Sometimes we just need to get creative with the things that are right in front of us. Next, I puttied over the holes with some leftover materials I had from a previous project. After letting that dry for a while, I sanded it down and then added some white paint on top just to kind of blend it back into the rest of the wood. I love this piece of wood because it matches some of the other windows in our house and it just feels like it belongs in our home. Okay, while that dries, I'm just getting to work removing this TV mount. It came with our house and we don't even own a TV yet, so I'm just taking it out. Next, I pulled out our bin of leftover wedding flowers. I love this because it's so perfect for this time of year. We actually got married in October, but I love our old wedding flowers because they include the oranges and reds that start to appear this time of year, but it also has a lot of that greenery that you still see outside. I spent a crazy amount of time figuring out how to arrange these flowers and other items, decorative items that I wanted to include. And I'm not going to show the whole process because I changed it about 5,000 times. I did end up using this tin can that I got from the dollar store quite a while ago. I put a plastic bag inside, filled it with some flowers, and kind of arranged it the way I liked, and I ended up using that as kind of a focal point on the fireplace. I also used some decorative candle holders and candles that I had thrifted a little while ago, and I included just some other household decor. The sign that says "You're Home Now" was a gift from our realtor, and the candle on the far right, it was a gift from a friend for Christmas. So just everything was things that we already had in our home. Okay, here's a little secret about our wedding flowers. We actually found them all ourselves. I would go to every craft store and look for discounts on fake flowers, and then we actually foraged the sagebrush because where we live it grows like a weed, and then we just hired a family friend to put it all together for us the day of the wedding. Eventually on the sides of our fireplace we want to put built-in cabinets, But in the meantime, I used this plant stand that my husband got me for my birthday, and I filled it with plants I already had, plants I'm propagating, and just some thrifted baskets that I've had laying around for a bit. Then I gave everything a good scrub because I had made a mess with the dried flowers. Okay, amazing news. Our couch actually came. It was supposed to come in 2 to 3 weeks, and it showed up the next day after we ordered it. So shout out to Ashley Furniture Store for being amazing. It came with blue pillows, which I want to change out eventually with pillow covers, but in the meantime, just soaking it in as it is. Love this couch so much. Okay, this room is feeling so much cozier, and I love that it has the greens, the reds, and the oranges, and brings September into our home. I also added these cute little houses to the coffee table. I got them a few months ago at a garage sale for like 10 cents. That's another good place to find good home decor. Thrift stores, garage sales, yard sales, you just gotta look for the right things. I like to thrift baskets. I like to thrift just unique, cute, functional home decor. These houses actually light up, which is fun because at night it gets really cozy. Okay, I want to try something I learned about a little bit ago, and that is printing on wood. So I want to add a few touches to the kitchen, and I'm making this hot apple cider recipe on Canva, and then I'm going to print it on parchment paper. Okay, I'm just gluing the parchment paper to a regular piece of printer paper and then cutting off the edges. One vital step if you are going to do this, please, please, please mirror your image when you go to print it, otherwise everything will be backwards. My wood doesn't have any type of finish on it, which is a good thing, but I do want to get it a little bit damp. Not sopping wet, but just enough to really absorb the ink. Then with that same wet cloth, I'm just pushing down really hard, trying to transfer the image onto the wood. I love the look of printing on wood because it looks so vintage. This was my first try, and I realized I moved it down a little bit too far, and so part of the words got cut off on the bottom. I did try it again on the back side. It didn't transfer as well, so it's kind of a work in progress, but I'm embracing the imperfections, and I'm gonna style it anyway. Originally, I wanted to style this with apples because that makes sense, but I didn't have any apples, so I'm using grapefruit and clementines, which is fine because you actually do put oranges in this recipe, but I just thought I could add whatever fruit I have on hand at the time, and it's a cute way to store fruit and also display this little piece of printed wood. It looks really cute stylized in my kitchen. I added a lamp and a candle and a bottle that I might fill with like cloves or maybe even some apple cider. We'll see. Okay, for this project, I'm taking an old crate that I got at a thrift store. Again, I said I love thrifting crates and baskets. And I'm just filling it with herbs that my husband recently planted. We're trying to start growing some in our kitchen since our garden will be dying in the next month or two. I'm going to be placing these in our kitchen windowsill, and along with that, I wanted to make some whimsical candles that kind of incorporate what I used in the family room and kind of tie it together. So I used some of the flowers that I used in the family room, and I added some candles to these old jars. I'll probably just use them for decoration, not really to light, but I loved the way it looked all together. Okay, this next project is by far my very favorite one. One thing I wrote down in my journal is that September reminds me of that initial fall harvest, starting to can, getting fresh produce from the garden, and one thing that we've been getting a lot of lately is herbs. And we're running out of room for our spices because we dry our herbs and collect them, and so I wanted to create a shelving unit for the pantry door that would hold all of our spices. So I have this old pallet wood, and I'm just deconstructing it and taking out all of the nails. I love saving pallets that you can get for free, by the way. I got this on the side of the road for free, and repurposing them. After removing the nails, I sanded these boards down, and I decided right then and there I would not be painting or refinishing these in any way because the wood grain was beautiful. I cut my shelves to size, and I ended up making 10 of them. Then I needed to attach my shelves to 2 long side pieces. Now note here that I was not at all worried about imperfections. In fact, I wanted the imperfections. I wanted the old holes from the previous nails. I wanted these boards to tell a story. I loved the organic, natural, rustic look of it all. Eventually I want to probably add wooden dowels to this, but in the meantime I was using what I had, so I tied twine around the shelves, and this just helped hold the spices in place so that the jars weren't sliding off of the shelf when I opened the door. And surprisingly, once I put the jars on the shelves, I ended up loving the twine. So we'll see if I end up changing it one day or not. I've actually never been so obsessed with something that I've made, and I am so happy. Now I kind of want to finish up the rest of the pantry to make it look just as cute, but this is so functional. And the nice thing is there's actually room to put a second row of jars behind the first row, so I could label it if I needed more space. To secure it, I added a back piece, and then I screwed that baby right into the door because I did not want it going anywhere, and it is very secure. A few weeks ago, we hosted a fairy tale themed bachelorette party for one of my really good friends, and I had a few leftover supplies. I had these wreaths that I had gotten from the dollar store and didn't end up using, and also at the dollar store I found these adorable mushrooms. They come in red, orange, and blue, and they come in packs of 3. I grabbed some greenery from the leftover wedding flowers and used wire to attach them. Now this was a little tricky because I'm used to the wreaths that have double layers. It just makes it a little bit easier to secure the greenery. This was a new challenge for me, but after some trial and error, I finally got the greenery to stay just right. To get the mushrooms to stay, I just put wire between the stem and the cap of the mushroom and then just really pushed it up in there so that you couldn't see it. I added some fake flowers in between the mushrooms, but you know what I was thinking would be so cute if I had had some is baby's breath. I think it would have just given it a more whimsical feel. I loved using the mushrooms for this wreath because one thing I wrote in my September list was that it reminds me of memories camping, because every Labor Day my family goes backpacking or camping and spends a lot of time outside in those final hours before, or days or weeks before the weather really turns. And so these mushrooms kind of reminded me of being out in the woods. With the 2 smaller rings, I made a wreath for our coat closet and one for our pantry door as well. Happy September, and thank you so much for following along. I will be pushing out more content, making more videos, so hit like and subscribe. It helps a lot, and I really appreciate your support. Let us know in the comments below what September means to you, what do you enjoy about this season, and do you have any fun projects or crafts or decorating ideas planned? Can't wait to hear from you.